there, welcome to RoadTV. My name is Linda Jahan, and I am the virtual faculty coordinator for Road at Home. And our guest on RoadTV today is Karen Combs. Hi, Karen.
Hi, Linda. How are you?
Good. How is it in Tennessee?
Well, we actually got snow yesterday and last night. So there was a beautiful dusting of snow this morning, and now the sun's out and it's starting to melt. So that's the kind of snow I like. It goes away quick.
Cold. Yeah. So you're going to be at Road at Home, and you're going to be doing a lecture.
Yes.
And your lecture is called
Quilts of Illusion.
So tell me, what is a quilt of illusion?
Well, probably the easiest definition I like to use is it's a quilt that does something. Now, what does that mean? Well, it could look transparent, like one thing laid over another and you can see through it. Or maybe it has depth, like some of the quilts you see behind me. They don't look flat. They are flat, but they don't look flat. Or maybe it has motion through use of repeating figures. So there's a lot of different ways to create quilts of illusion, and that's what we're going to look at in the lecture.
Yeah, when you're talking about quilts of illusion, do you have to have any special skill set? Because that looks kind of complicated, that cube.
That's one of the fun things about quilts of illusion, is they don't look how they're pieced. So they might look really hard, but it might be really simple shapes. Now, I'm not saying every quilt is like that, because obviously there are some very complex quilts of illusions. But a lot of what I do, it is an illusion on how it's created. And people are amazed at how simple it is once they know the tricks. And it's like, oh, this looks so hard. And I said, don't tell anybody it's easy. Make them think you're the best there is.
Even that chain quilt.
Yes.
Is that Celtic?
That is my Celtic pieced illusions technique. And that is pieced. It's not appliqued. And believe it or not, there are only two kinds of blocks in that technique.
Get out.
So we'll touch on that in the lecture too. I'll be showing the blocks and how to create your own designs too, not just, oh, here's this quilt, but looking at the grid, looking at how I start, where I start with a design and how I build it.
You're really going to cover a lot in that lecture.
We are, yes. I did this lecture a few weeks ago for a guild, and one of the guild members said she took 3 pages of notes. It was fantastic. So I was really thrilled to hear that she enjoyed it so much.
Wow. So you don't have to have mega skills. You can, confident beginner.
Right. There are some that will require some more skill sets, but I also have some that if you know how to piece a triangle, you can do it. And I will be pointing out those quilts, the different shapes, things like that in the lecture too, because like I said, it's deceiving. They look so much harder than they are.
So you can really, really impress your friends.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I tease them and I say, you know, it's like that commercial years ago, the Rice Krispie Treats commercial, where the lady is in the kitchen throwing flour on herself, but she's really just reading a book. And the family's saying, are you okay in there? She's crashing pans. She goes, yes, I'm fine. And she brings out the Rice Krispie Treats, and no one needs to know how easy it was. So that's why I say it's like they're making Rice Krispie Treats.
Do you have anything you'd like to show us?
Sure, I can show you, well, kind of point out some of the quilts here and show a couple other ones. This one behind me, the cubes, that is actually what I call my Patchwork Illusions technique, and that is creating a 3-dimensional cube. And that fabric in it actually is my colorful fabric, which I know I'm deviating here, but I'll go ahead and use it as a segue to the fabric line I've done with Banyan Batiks called Colorful. And it is a batik, but we've done two things that someone has never done before in the industry with it. I'm going to hold it up, but then I'll show you a close-up of it.
Great.
So a lot of the quilts that I do need a light, a medium, and a dark, because value does play into Quilts of Illusion. And sometimes that's hard to find. You know, you can find the light or you can find the medium, but not the matching dark. So this fabric, I'm going to stand up here. This fabric has a light, a medium, and a dark all on one piece of fabric.
Wow.
So you can see you've got one color family, you've got light, medium, and dark. But the things that have never been done before, I'm just going to switch to my close-up camera here and show you. There is actually a cut line in between the different values. So you know exactly where to cut it apart. And no one in the industry has been able to do that before. And the other thing we've done is we have a texture. So I'll hold it up again so you can see there's a slight texture, but it also gradates. And that's been done with cotton prints, but not with a batik, which are hand done. So we're pretty excited that we're able to get that technique. And so the quilt here, the Patchwork Illusions, that is using a light, medium, and dark in two different colors. So that's just two colors of the fabric because it has the gradation on it. So each one of these is done with a different color family. So you can hold up this other color so you can see it. So this is Color Fall. And then coming out, should be shipping very soon, we have Color Fall 2 that's coming out. I don't have a header of it, but I'll show you the quilt that goes with the pattern line. And this is another illusion. This is an attic window. So this is some of the fabrics from the Color Fall 2 collection. So I just love how this turned out. It kind of looks like the sun is going across the surface of the colors. And that is one thing with illusions. A lot of times people look at them and they think, oh, it's the color that does the work. Color looks nice, but it's actually value that's doing most of the work in the illusion. So let me see what else I've got I can show you. We talked about the Celtic. A lot of people know me for my cubes, like you see here. And this is another one of my, what I call my Patchwork Illusions quilts. But this one, there we go. I have to get it right side up. This one is called Ice Crystals, and this is where I've actually put patchwork into the cubes.
Wow.
So you can see the difference. This is a basic 9 patch, but by adding patchwork into the 3-dimensional cube, it takes on a whole different look.
Sure does. Wow.
And you were talking about simple quilts, and I'll say simple because it's the shapes, but it's not simple when you see it. This is my chip out of every block quilt. And that's done with just squares and half square triangles, and that's it. But this is what's fun, and I'm only going to show you one because you'll have to watch the lecture to see the rest of it. Look what happens.
Don't tease me.
Look what happens when you turn it.
Oh, wow.
You actually have 2 quilts in one. And I tell guild members, I say, you know, you got 2 months of show and tell there. Here's January, and then you flip it around for February and just tell people, yeah, it's a series.
That is really cool. So you show a lot of quilts at your lecture?
We have a combination, and what I'll be doing is doing slides, which I'll narrate live, but then I also will cut back to myself, just like you're seeing here, and hold things up and show things, and moving to the close-up camera so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. You'll also be able to see the quilting close up, which is really nice. And then I'll have some quick little videos here and there about tips too. So we do a combination in the lecture.
That sounds impressive.
So there's lots packed in there.
Yes. So, how about you tell me a little bit, what else do you do? Do you have any interest other than quilt? Do you have time?
Well, that is one thing. There's not a lot of time when you travel as much as we did, and then as much as we're doing with virtual work. But some things people might not know about me. For years, I was a sign language interpreter. And I did it at church. So we had several members that were deaf, and almost 20 years I did sign language
Wow.
interpreting for them. So that's something that I learned. We had a group of us that learned it on our own. And I won't say I'm certified, because I'm not, but I'm doing it to help out those members. That's one thing. Since we've been home all this time, I have started doing yoga every day. I kind of messed around with it a little bit, but when you travel a lot, it's hard to be consistent with something. So every morning when I get up, there's all kinds of YouTube videos, and some of them are a series. So I will do 20 or 30 or 40 minutes of yoga every morning. That helps keep me limber. So when we go back on the road and we're lifting those suitcases, we can do it.
Forgot about all that fun.
Yeah.
Jim, you do quilt cruises as well. You're all over the place with your cruises.
Yes, I have worked with quilt seminars at sea for over a decade, and we have gone everywhere. We've done lots of Caribbean cruises and Alaska cruises, but we've also done some cruises that we call quilt exploration. And on our quilt exploration trips, we don't have classes. We might have lectures where I'll give a lecture, but we don't have classes. But we call them quilt exploration because we are exploring the area together. One of the places that we went was Indonesia, and we spent 2 weeks going all around Indonesia and buying batiks, going to batik mills, seeing how they're created, creating some of our own, and lots of buying. I wish I'd bought more, believe me. So I've worked with them about 10 years, and we've got a couple of trips scheduled next year and into 2022. So we're hoping that we'll be able to do those because we're all ready to get back out there again.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we did that Alaska cruise together.
Yes, that was fun. Alaska is a beautiful cruise to go on.
I was in a little shock there because you living in Florida and then going to a little cooler climate.
It is hard to pack when you're getting ready to go to Alaska and you realize it's going to be chilly and it's probably going to be wet. And so you're trying to pack warm clothes and raincoats, and outside it's 85 or 90 degrees. That's hard to pack for. You're right.
So going back to your students, I know you're only doing a lecture, but when you do a class, what is it that you would like your students to take away? What's like the most important thing you want them to take away?
I think there's a couple of aha moments I really like them to get. And one of them is that they can do the technique, whatever it is we're doing in class, that it's broken down into steps and it makes sense. And I think a lot of times we'll look at a quilt and we'll see it, it's an entirety, and we'll think, okay, that's really hard, I can't do it. But if you break it down into these small little bite-sized morsels, learning as you go, all of a sudden you've made that quilt. So I think it's just breaking things down and having people be successful, because that really, that makes me feel really good when I can share it and when people can make whatever we're doing and they say, I didn't think I could do it, but they can. It's
That's your,
yeah, I tell people it's not that we're special. We just know the steps and we know the techniques that are needed, or maybe there's a skill that I can show in class that someone hasn't tried before. And it's like, this is accessible. You can do this. So I really enjoy that part of teaching, bringing that so then they can go on to create their own.
what do you think, how, your thoughts on how COVID has affected our industry?
Boy, that's a tough one. Because I don't think we know yet, because we're not out of it yet. But I know that when it first hit, I was thinking, okay, my spring travel will be rearranged and I'll have my summer trips and my fall trips. So I went ahead and did a lot of things that I'd put off, like cleaning the garage, because we no longer had an excuse. We had the time, washing windows, doing a lot of that stuff and cleaning out my studio. And then when that was done and we weren't out of this yet, I thought, well, I've got to figure this out. So that was when the pivot to starting to do the online classes and lectures started. I think one benefit that's come from this is we've been able to reach students and they've been able to reach us from around the world. And we're accessible because we can come to them just like we're doing now through Zoom. That has been wonderful. Some of the smaller guilds that have hired me to do lectures or classes, they couldn't have afforded me to come with the travel. But because I'm coming to them from my home, we don't have the travel expenses. So I've been able to reach some smaller guilds, and it's been a real joy to be with them. But I don't think we know exactly how all this will shake out yet. I think there are some guilds that will continue to put Zoom classes or lectures in the schedule. I was talking to one guild might have been Chicago. Anyway, it was where it snows a lot in the winter. And they said their thought what they were going to do was schedule maybe a Zoom class or lecture with their guild in the winter, especially those months that could end up being closed because of a blizzard or snowstorm. And that gave them then the opportunity to still have their meeting and they didn't have to worry about would it be called off. And then I was talking to another guild, and again, this, I think it was either Arizona or Florida, and they were thinking about doing Zoom lectures because they had a lot of snowbirds. So if they did their meetings in the summer and did it with Zoom, then they could still reach their members that they wouldn't normally be able to. So I think we're going to see kind of an integration of this technology along with when the in-person classes and shows start again. I don't know. I told someone, I said, right now, my answer is a whole lot of, I don't know. And we'll just have to wait and see. So someone else, I told them, all I know is right now is this is what I can do. So that's what I'm going to do right now until I can do something else. So yeah, I think it's yet to be determined what all this will do.
So, was there anything else you would like to say on RoadTV?
See, I'm looking, I've got a pile of quilts here. Let me hold up one more because we had talked about the shapes being simple. And just because a shape in a quilt is simple doesn't mean the quilt has to be simple. And I'll show you a quilt. But that was one thing that hit me when I started quilt making, as I had a quilt block book and I'd look at the beginning of it and that's where the simple blocks were. But I wanted to do those more complex ones, which I did. But then one day I realized the simple blocks also have a beauty. And so I enjoy playing with those simpler shapes, but making them look complex. So let me grab this quilt here. And I'll hold it up. This is my jewel box quilt. And it's got a wonderful illusion of depth. But those are just very simple shapes. But it just reminds me of almost facets in a jewel that just pop up. So this one I really, really love. And that's a class that I do. And we did that class a little while ago with a guild, and it was quite fun because with my close-up camera, I was able to play with blocks and they played with theirs, and we tried different settings and colors along with the sewing tips that we learned. So I think one thing that's been an advantage with doing these virtual classes and lectures is we can embrace the technology. And when we do that, we're able to bring something we couldn't bring in person. Let me show you what I mean. I have a quilt here. Now it's a whole pile. Let me grab it. Because this quilt is from my, here it is from my Lone Star Illusions technique. And this technique only uses half square triangles. There are no diamonds in these quilts. But what's fun about this particular one, the quilting on it is beautiful. This was done by Valerie Curtis, who's a long arm quilter that lives near me. But she was able to do this almost folk art looking quilting, which just, I love the quilting on this. So with this technology, I'm able to, in the lecture, show quilts and then actually show close-ups of the quilting. So I think that's been a challenge, and kind of a fun part of this too, is looking at what technology I have, and it's like, all right, how can I enhance the lecture or the class with this? And that's one way, going to the close-up camera and showing those details.
You got some mad skills.
Well, as we were chatting earlier, it's been a lot of 15-hour days setting things up and creating this virtual content and kind of pivoting to this virtual world. And more than once, I would just have to sit and practice with the different technology and learning it and reading about it and doing a whole lot of searching on, all right, this happened, how do I fix it? How do I correct it? And it's usually simple, but you have to figure out how to do it. So yeah, it's been
a beautiful presentation.
It's been quite an adventure.
Awesome. Is this your first time teaching at Road? I'm sure not.
First time teaching at Road? Yes. I'm sorry, my furnace just kicked on. I couldn't hear you. First time teaching at Road, yes. I'm excited about it. I think it's wonderful. This is going to open up our classes and lectures to people that maybe couldn't travel for different reasons to California, so it's really exciting.
Awesome. Oh, okay, Karen. Thank you so much. This will be on RoadTV. And
oh, thank you.
You have a website?
Website is KarenCombs.com.
What about any social media?
I do. All the links will be on the website, but I do have a Facebook group, and I also have an Instagram page. I have a YouTube channel, so you can see some of the little videos that I've done there. And let's see what else. An Etsy store. I think that's, yeah, the web page, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Etsy. I think that's it.
All right. So thank you very much for being on RoadTV.
Oh, well, thank you for the opportunity, and I look forward to seeing our viewers in the lecture. Come, let me show you all kinds of ways to create illusions.
If that is lecture WL01. That means it's on Wednesday, the W. Wednesday L01. So thank you all very much, and we'll see you on our next episode.
Oh, thank you, everybody. Thanks, Linda.